Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I remain Nemeka Onyeka Odereri. Just like I promised, I owe you to my conscience, to posterity, and to generations unborn, to always speak the truth, stand by the truth, and proffer solutions that will help us to make this country a paradise for each and every one of us. The scripture says that let our light so shine before men, let our good works so speak before men, that they will see the good works we have done. They will see our light. They will see our saltiness as the salt of the earth and glorify our Father which is in heaven. The issue I'm addressing now is the issue of Land Use Act. Basic economics, and everybody or anybody who understands how economics work or how government works understand that there are 4 factors of production. Land, which is the most important, naturally created by God. Human capital, human resources, of course. Us as human beings, who God has created his own image and given the intellectual capacity to replenish the earth, to subdue it, to have dominion, and to make it a paradise, because we are created in the image of God. When he finished creating the earth, it was good, and he wanted us to make it as good as God left it. The third one is machineries, which are the equipment that are used to till the ground, to do other things that makes life easy for man here on earth. And the last, which is not the least, capital, funds, which is required. Money is the medium of exchange. I read banking and finance, and I clearly understood that there are 3 basic needs for money: the transactional need for money, the speculative need for money, that's investments, and the precautionary need for money, setting aside savings in case of emergencies that are unplanned for. Speculative need for money has to do with investments and all those stuff, and then transactional need for money is the money that you use for the day-to-day transactions on your physiological needs, your feeding, your clothing, your shelter, and all the rest of it. Jesus Christ even made it clear that all those things, the Pharisees, everybody, even the sinners, ask for it. Man is entitled to this physiological need: shelter, clothing, and food. Let me not digress. So the Land Use Act in Nigeria has been one of the greatest impediments to production, and we all know how it started. Prior to 1966, lands were controlled by the regions. We had a constitutional physical framework that allowed the regions to look inward, be productive, explore the latent potentials and resources in their regions, create wealth, keep 50%, pay 30 to the national port and 20 to the federal government, so that they can just take care of the very few things then at the exclusive list. The constituent units, the federating units, the regions were very semi-autonomous and strong and powerful. So that come in the 1999 criminal constitution. I call the 1990 constitution the most criminal document ever contrived by mankind. You know, constitutions are fashioned and formed by federating units. People come together and they said, okay, we want to live together, and we will have to have a codified document that will guide us. Before the 1960 constitution was fashioned out, Ahmadu Bello, Enahoro, Obafemi Awolowo, Azikiwe, all the other our forebears, our statesmen gathered, and they designed, they discussed, had commissions. In fact, remember that in 1957, Awolowo was even ready to go, that allowed the South to have their own independence. Zik, who was fixated with having a very massive African continent to himself, refused. If you had listened to Awolowo, we wouldn't be where we are today. Anyway, I don't like recriminating. That constitution that was bettered in 1960 had the input of all the constituent units. So when you said this is constitution that this is the people gathered to do this, that constitution clearly defined the people coming together. But the 1999 constitution, upon which we are building today, was a fraudulent satanic verses cobbled together by some people and hired over to Abdul, and that is where we are today. That constitution we are operating today it created rooms for the worst of us, for the most criminal-minded, for the most dubious-minded, for the most selfish and greedy human beings, kleptomaniacs, to have access to power and authority, and that is where we are today. Let's come to the Land Use Act. Those who fashioned the Land Use Act and even enshrined in our constitution understood the importance of land as a factor of production. Go to other places of the world, and the governors have abused it. When we talk about P2B, people think, oh, why are we trying to? We are not deifying Peter or trying to canonize him. Peter is a man with his challenges, but Peter And Yar'Adua set examples that many of us who are desirous of building a greater Nigeria, the good qualities that they had, that we should emulate. Remember that Yar'Adua and Peter were the only governors who left no liabilities for their successors and who left huge savings for them. Yar'Adua remains the only living or dead Nigerian who has openly declared his asset and liability without prompting and published it on the national dailies, what he owned and what he owed with that of Torah, his wife and family, because Yar'Adua had no intention of stealing. And of course, that was one of the qualities Obasanjo saw that made him to go all his way, all out to support him to be president. Even when Yar'Adua became president, being the good man that Yar'Adua was, he recognized the elections that brought him to power were flawed. And what did he do? He wanted to right the wrongs. He set up Uwais panel to profile an electoral reform process that will not allow anybody do what they did in 2007 in terms of electoral malfeasance. That report was ready, but of course, death took away that good man. May his soul continue to rest in peace. I love you, Yar'Adua. Then we had Jonathan, who was so weak to implement. If Jonathan had implemented the Uwais report, if Jonathan had been strong enough even to implement the 2014 confab report, Nigeria would not be where we are today. Land Use Act. Peter Obi remains the only governor in the whole of the southeast and Nigeria who was governor for 8 years and never signed or allocated any piece of land to himself, to Margaret, his wife, to his son in the UK or his daughter, or to any of his siblings, or to anybody who is remotely close to him or even distantly close to him. The commissioner for land in Anambra State brought a land that they signed to give to him. He refused to take the land. Rather, that land was given to a permanent secretary. Peter Obi signed 6,000 CFOs on record. He did not sign anything for himself. Impeccable man of integrity. But the governors of today, most of the governors have abused the Land Use Act. That is why they've refused to bring any amendment to the Land Use Act to make land asset transferable. I don't blame the banks when they refuse to lend to you if you do not have properties in Banana Island or Maitama or Ikoyi or other hybrid areas, because the Land Use Act is so convoluted, so criminally structured that transferability of assets becomes difficult. And when the banks do not have easy access to something that is used as a collateral, then you don't blame them for not lending. We have begged these guys to amend the Land Use Act and they've refused. Do you know why they refused? Because the governors are abusing it. The Land Use Act gives so much power, unwieldy power to the governors on the use and usance of land and allocation of land resources. So basically, once the governor becomes a governor, the first thing he does is to go to land office, get the land documents, and begin to look for choice land locations where they will steal, where they will loot and allocate to their friends. The Land Use Act actually said that government has a right to take over landed properties for overriding public use, but governors have abused it. You see people, community lands, they will take community lands, they will allocate it to their friends who are real estate developers. Somebody from Edo State, somebody from Imo State will go to Ekpe, the governor will not involve the communities. He will just take their land, allocate to his friend from Edo or his friend from Anambra or from Enugu, for anywhere, or from even Oyo or Ibadan to be or Ogun State to begin to do private estates. It's not as if they are building low-cost houses that will benefit the public. One of this is why I respect and honor Lateef Jokonde, Desa Mumbakwe, even Shagari, despite the fact that Shagari was as weak as Jonathan, was the fact that they took out efforts to build public low-cost houses for the benefit of the masses. Go around Lagos. Jokonde was governor for 4 years. Jokonde has scattered all over Lagos. Jokonde estates. I took out time to drive around Lagos to see what Jokonde did. Over 5,000 housing units. Jokonde governed only for 4 years. That guy is a saint. There's someone did the same thing from Aladema to the New Owerri housing capital territory, New Owerri housing area to Ikenebu layout. Mbakwe did a lot. Shagari, if you go across Nigeria, you will see Shagari low-cost housing estate. That is even one in Okiwo where I come from. But most of the governors we have today are so criminal and dubious-minded. The first thing they do when they become governor is to look for choicest locations in Nigeria, in their locality, to begin to steal the land. We have begged them, amend the Land Use Act. What is the amendment required? If Nigeria is a very honest place where we have honest leaders, we will have amended those laws. You don't give governors so much power. When you amend the law, it will be stated clearly. Land can only be taken away from the owners for overriding public use, and that public use will be one, for building of roads, for building of railways, for building of hospitals and schools. It should exclude private estates that governors are using to steal land. Number two, when the laws are amended, once somebody owns an asset, the person can transfer that asset. But basically, the law should be that during the transfer of the land and its registration in the land office, a state may just get a percentage of it. There was a proposal that we did to the then Imo State governor when Rochas was there, because Rochas was so blinded by greed that he was busy scrambling for every piece of land in Imo State that he never thought about the fact that he will only stay 8 years and will. It's not only him, practically people before him and after him, we are in the same game. We said any serious, if we amend the law in such a way that what the governors to do, very simple. Once a governor becomes a governor, or even before you do that, every state should geomap every state. Nigeria is well because we don't have visual readers. Michael Okpara was able to do 214-kilometer industrial belt because before he became premier, he invited one of the biggest consultants, smartest consultant, the Legoton Group in the US, and they came up with a massive vision across all the sectors: health, education, agro development, housing, on how they want to build the old Eastern Nigeria. So there was a roadmap, and Michael Okpara followed it painstakingly. If the military guys had not struck in 1966 and Nigeria had continued in that trajectory, today Singapore will not even see our back. Michael was visionary. Same thing with Desa Mumbakwe. He had a plan of what he wanted to do. But most of these governors, they have no plan. They won't even develop any vision. All they want is grab, take, and steal. Now, let me not digress so much. You should map your state. There should be a geographic mapping. I give them example how you can even raise so much money. Every land originally belongs to a community, indigenous people. When you map those lands, you will delineate it clearly. You know the boundaries to avoid confusion. If, for example, I come from Amagihube, and the land within my area is maybe, say, 2,000 hectares of land or 10,000 hectares of land, the state government, with the help of the community, will map out where we want to do residence, where we want to do agriculture, where we want to do this, where we want to do that. Now, the community, you issue this thing and transfer the land back to the community. Government transfers it. Government has no reason to interfere with it. If it's individual that own the land, get them to do the documentations, register them, digitize everything. One of my very cerebral friend, Obinna Mbahurike, when he was working, I think he was SA then under Rocha's government with the late Ogwede, when he came up with a massive plan similar to what I'm discussing. But of course, Rochas was not ready to listen to anything that would be very creative, that would add value, that would not allow him to grab land. You geomap the land. Let the local government, let the states, let the communities own their land. Give them. If it is okay, this is land, particular land belongs to this community. If it's individuals in that community that owns that land, you tell them, give everybody time frame. Do surveys of your land. Just get a surveyor. Submit. The government will create charges. That's okay. You're going to pay so rate, so for so locality. The land is properly documented. Transfer of assets, of landed assets should be so seamless. Somebody can sell his land, or somebody can pledge his land as collateral, and changes should happen within weeks, 2 weeks maximum. But today, we have deliberate convoluted arrangements that allow the governors to mess up with the land. That's why you see, the first thing they do is just look for where to steal land, left and right. They don't even care where they... There was one governor in the East. 3 years ago, we brought a group that was willing to invest $100 million to develop 2,000 housing units. New location, working with the diaspora. It was supposed to be diaspora green city. We have done everything, gotten HFP, the Israeli company in Lagos, gotten other people to be part of what we are trying to do. Everything had been lined up. The off-take has already indicated interest that they will off-take. They had the capacity. Medical doctors, professionals living in America, in South Africa, and in the UK. Why did that project stall? The community from where the lands were supposed to be allocated, we tracked the community and told them this is what we want to do. We don't want government to do boju with us. We want people to know this is what we're going to. We're going to compensate you fully. We drew the number based on valuable, considerable estimates, it will take about 2.9 billion to settle the committee. And the committee were so excited. For the first time, they've seen developers who put their interests first. And we told them that we were going to employ their sons and daughters. They do know why that project stalled. The governor was not willing to see eye to eye with us on the issue of settling community. He said, I'm the governor, I'm the chief executive. The land belongs to me. You cannot determine what they will be compensated. The HFP guys walked away because they've been operating in Lagos and they've seen what happened in Omolo Estate, where government forcefully took over the land of people and they went to court and they won the Supreme Court. And the people who bought the land with your phone are suffering and they say they don't want to go through. And I agree with them and we walked away. It's the same problem. This problem will linger until we will amend constitutionally the Land Use Act and everything. But who will bear the cat? The presidency, the National Assembly, and the governors. They are not willing. They keep on mouthing this. Go and ask any banker. Go and ask any bank MD. One of the greatest impediments to lending is the issue of ease of transferability of land assets. Go to America, go to UK, go to Singapore, go to China, go to every other places. It's very easy to seamlessly transfer assets. But in Nigeria, one God will stay in the government house and be playing God with people's destinies. Will stay in one corner and be confiscating people's land across a land that people have owned for centuries, for decades. May God have mercy on us. If we want to build this land to make it productive, we must amend the land use. And for the governors, go to Peter, Gregory, Onwubasi Obi, and learn what he did. Peter was not greedy. Peter was not malicious. Peter was not as kleptomaniac as most of you who are today the sons of Barabbas, who always think of only what to loot, what to steal, or what to do. Peter signed 6,000 CFOs. He did. Can any of the governors come out and say he was governor for 4 years or 8 years? He never allocated land to his friends and cronies. May God have mercy on us. And for most of us who are not yet in the corridors of power, who are already planning on how we will steal land when we become governor, repent. And for you, the electorate, who are so dense and unthinking that you cannot interrogate matters and know the truth from the lies, I pray that God will open your mind and give you knowledge. Thank you and God bless.